extra mile to get you financed. Go! Day 2 of the Lesotho Sun 400 and a tough day ahead in the fifth leg of the ABSA Off-Road Championship Series. As the start-finish compound started waking up, they knew that they would have to face 3 very tiring laps of more than 100 k's at a time, and the prologue route was just a foretaste of what was to come. While the sun touched the mountaintops, we wanted to know from overnight leader Duncan Foss how tough it was to find the route.
No, it's not a problem. You know, Ralphie knows how to navigate and find the route very easily. So, no, it's not a problem. It's actually, I would think, in today's conditions, an advantage starting in the front of the production cars.
And once you'd set up your stall, did it necessarily mean that you had to stick to a plan?
Yeah, we're not unhappy with the position yesterday. We pushed quite hard in the first section. I think we were very quick. In the last 20 k's, we just didn't read the rocks quite well, and we got hooked up with another car, and the mud was quite bad and very, very rough in the last section. So, yeah, we're very, very close to the production cars. We're all a couple of seconds apart. So, not unhappy with being fourth. Maybe other guys can show us some of the mud holes. I don't know, but just looking this morning coming out, it's very, very wet. There's mud everywhere, so I think it's going to be a long day and a hard day.
Chris Visser, meanwhile, had one idea: to stay ahead.
Yeah, we just tried to stay in front. We get in Class D, so but it was very difficult yesterday for the bakkies, production vehicles. Yes, the terrain was very, very rough. But today we'll try to just be in front and stay in front.
What was a problem for the teams was how to read the lie of the land.
Yeah, it was very rough. You couldn't really read the terrain, so it was difficult to, you know, how fast you must go or how fast other guys are going. So it was very difficult. But I don't know, I don't think we can do that pace the whole of today. We'll have to slow down today, I'm sure.
The Lesotho monarch, King Letsie II, came out to wish the drivers well, but pole sitter Brandon Harkis was working to a preset plan.
Yeah, I wanted to be on pole. I've prepared hard, done a lot of changes to the car. I wanted to be out front. With it being only 100 kilometers, it's virtually just 2 time trials, so I think we're going to be going full speed again for the first lap, and then just take heed what's going on from there. Yeah, obviously I got my teammates right behind me and a lot of other hungry guys, but you know, this is a tough place and you got to keep your head. It's generally the man who wins here is the man who makes the least mistakes, and so concentration levels are going to have to be at the ultimate today.
Meanwhile, Norris Alberts enjoyed the pressure being off.
Yeah, we had a good run yesterday. It was fast. The competition is all up there. We something like half a minute behind the first guy. But what is good in my case is that the guy behind me is quite a bit behind. I don't mind chasing, but I'm not always keen on having someone close by. So, but we'll see. Like I said yesterday, we've done this quite a few times. The roof is one of the toughest. Not that it is a roof, but the terrain is one of the toughest. So I don't believe all the cars that started today will finish.
For the monarchy in Lesotho, this race means a lot to the country, its economy and its public relations.
Well, it means a great deal. It's become a tradition now to have this race annually in Lesotho, and it's a tradition which we hope to maintain and nurture. And we hope that it will bring, you know, the needed attention to Lesotho, and particularly to my village here in Matsieng.
Harkis was first off with a 23-second advantage over Hutchison, who ended up taking a few extra to get going. While Cox and Ter Steege certainly weren't waiting around. Alberts was a further 4 seconds back. With photographers scrambling for position, the drivers and nabs were following suit. But Harkis was in a fighting mood and let her rip. Hutchison and Bergman, only 13 points behind in the special vehicle fight for supremacy, gave it their all too. While their motorized teammate and log leader Alfie Cox and his co-Henny Terstegen were also not taking any prisoners. Alberts and Hunter and the Raps are back with fourth fastest in the prologue, and they took that form with them on the first lap of 100 kilometers. Ford Motorite Limpopo 400 winner Gary Bertolt and Henry Kirstein and the Yellow Atlas Copco Porter were fifth quickest, and they also just picked up where they left off. But there were many obstacles to overcome before the line, not least of all some truly inhospitable countryside. Marsh and Whitehouse and the National Mobile Bat were ultra consistent as always and were aiming for their fifth finish of the season. The first of the production vehicles finally made its appearance, and Foss and Pitchford in the proudly South African Nissan Navara led the way in this category. Variawa made a splash and set out for his finish. While the Castrol Toyota crew of Cronje and Birken, after being 9th overall, were already moving up the batting order. Corbett and Moore were trying to continue their fine driving from the Limpopo race. While Weir, Smith and Millett were just inside the top 15. In car with the Century Properties team, it looked tough out there, and the special vehicles were without any doubt faster on this exacting route.
Keep left sharp.
As Weir Smith proved by powering past. The by-accident single-seater with Colin Matthews was being pursued by Fords Woolridge and Shothammer in an all-out dice. It's not really a single-seater. His navigator didn't quite make it to the event. And the National Mobile Racing race car of Rutherford and Doubtfire had picked up a few places, with Will Battershill and Reg Sutton chasing them down. Clint Gibson and Mike Brown in the Absolute Bat had also done some moving up, and they were making a big impression. Gibson is earning a reputation as a good and hard driver out there. But halfway through lap 1, it was clear that this tough mixture of very wet and muddy patches and then extreme dry parts higher up would take its toll. Already several teams had either been forced to slow down or to drop out. And throughout it all, there were some really big dices starting to appear. Hannes Grobler and his navigator Francois Jordan were supplying one of those dices. They were pounding the pedal to the metal and flying up the order after starting 21st off the line. Another team that shot up was the pairing of Ernest Corbett and Warwick Goosen in their Century Property Development Bat. They'd started as the leading Class B car, but in 22nd place overall, they were also motoring. The father and son combination, the Cries, were next in the Keymax Property Development Bat, but they were having problems with the right rear hub, which hampered them a little. The Tyco Trucks entry in Class D with Chris Visser at the wheel appeared next, and he and co-driver Jaapie Baardhorst were leading in class despite an early puncture. They were fiercely pursued by the SP class car of Rob Gurney and Graham Steinbach, who had steering problems due to some mud that had crept in where it wasn't needed. The Weichholts were putting together a fine first lap on the way to the designated service point, but disaster was awaiting them. What was clear was that the special vehicles were without doubt faster because the terrain was so rough and tough and needed all the extra suspension that these cars provide over the extremely rough terrain.
Yanni Visser and Joks Leroux were in good form in their Toyota Hilux after starting 35th but second in Class E to the Moffats. And that's what a belly-up special vehicle looks like. But with a little help from our friends, we can get back on our feet again. Karl-Heinz Silwalt and his co-driver Mannetjes Halberg were the ones who got it wrong and had to wave the rest through.
Ons het probeer om die waterplas te mis in die ryvlak en toe het ons van die pad afgegaan aan die regterkant en goed gegaan tot op 'n stadium tot 'n walletjie ons gegooi het. En ek het definitief 'n fout gemaak deur nie weer regs om te draai nie, maar teen die wal te probeer opgaan. En natuurlik toe swaai hy my om en toe lê ons op ons dak. Gelukkig niks seer gekry nie, ons het 'n bietjie skade op die kar. Maar dis die roof. Dit is soos dit gaan op off-road race.
Indeed, and that was that for the Zarko Magnum and its passengers. Maybe next year. As for Hutchison and Bergman, they were furiously nailing competitors ahead of them, teammates or not. The bat of Alberts and Hunter was always near the lead and was a reminder to the big-name teams that they were a force to be reckoned with. While the same applied to Gary Berthold and Henry Costain in Class A. Unfortunately for them, though, they broke their back right hub just before DSP, and that was that for them. Voss and Pitchford, both former national champions, had put together a solid first leg and were flowing along well. And holding on to a rather tenuous lead. As for Corbett and Moore, they took a slightly faster line and voila, they got rid of one or two more of the competitors. Marsh and Whitehouse and the Nashua Mobile Bat found the first lap tough going, and the mud certainly hampered them. Variawa, on the other hand, was reveling in it and making the Total Porter work for its money. Three-time national champ Grobler in his trusty Nissan Navara SP had the bit between his teeth and he moved up considerably, piling on the pressure, and after the first 80 Ks, he'd moved into the top 10. The big Ford Ranger of Woolridge and Schulthammer had by the end of lap 1 started eating up lost ground, and after starting 12th, they were heading for a quick time at DSP. The mud had got pretty treacherous and most of the teams were more than happy to go around, but that carried its own inherent dangers. Unexpected rocks and holes could mean the beginning of the end. Cronje and Birkin were in full flight, heading for a change of strategy and already up into the top 5, while Corbett Senior and Goosen were themselves nailing some big scalps but only leading Class B by a minute. Looking a little blind in one eye, the Weichholtz Toyota Hilux sounded better than it looked. And there was a lot of mud out there. Three-time winner of the Old Roof of Africa, Richard Schilling, was again reveling in the conditions. It seems the tougher they are, the better he and co-driver Chris Davies go. However, they would have some heartbreak a little later. The Barkhuizens, the husband and wife team of George and Sharon in the Rurikon Hilux, were also going smoothly after getting stuck in the mud during the prologue. stuck at DSP after the first 100-odd Ks of racing. It was Cox and Ter Stege who had taken the lead, finishing a scant 33 seconds ahead of their stablemates, Evan Hutchison and Kim Bergman. Alberts and Hunter were next, improving by 1 place, and they were full of the joys of spring. Harkus was next, and the first 5 places were taken by the special vehicles, just proving that the terrain favoured the cars with so much more suspension. Harkus, though, was 5 minutes down, but a happy camper under the circumstances, even after they'd had a flat.
Unfortunately, I don't know why we got a flat. I think we had a slow puncture. And yeah, but anyway, still 200 k's to go. It's not ideal, but I have to really push hard to catch my boys here.
Conditions out on the route?
Yeah, they're easy, man. They're just rough, but easy.
So the tyres got back on, and as they say in the classic, JFIC, just for in case. The Total Motorsport crew looked happy. They were in with the 4th fastest time after leg 1 and right in contention. The first production car home was that of Mark Corbett and Jean Moore, who has improved dramatically after taking delivery of their brand new Century Property Development Nissan Navara. And a crew has to do what a crew has to do. In the Nissan camp, there was joy as Foss and Pitchford clocked the 2nd fastest time for the SP class, and manager Glenn Hall was on hand to take charge. What would it take to win? We wanted to know from Ralph.
Just carry on doing what we've done up until now, keep the car together, stay on the road, because the mud holes are really slippery now, and the problem is if you get stuck, you've got a big problem. So yeah, we're just taking 1 step at a time.
They were giant leaps, actually, but the Nissan team were even happier when Grobler and Jordan were the next to appear. They'd made up 13 places and were flying along. It was a good first lap for the men in the red cars. The Ford boys, Woolridge and Schulthammer, had lost some ground, but the Ranger was holding up well. They complained about the dust, though. The Cronje-Birken combination seemed to be on track for a good finish. They were 13th overall and 5th in class, but that needed a rethink.
Yeah, we've just adopted an endurance strategy, so we're just keeping it clean and tidy. We've got another 2 laps to go, and it's rough. So, yeah, for us it's just to get it to finish, and I'm pretty sure we'll do okay.
The Cries had had some serious trouble with the back right hub, and it affected the car's handling.
Yeah, it looks like the back hub has come loose at the moment, so we're just, you know, trying to fix it quickly. Yeah.
Chances of getting back out?
Yeah, I don't know, we'll see, eh? We hope so. Let's hope so.
They did indeed make it out for lap 2. The Weicherts were looking good and were ready to do battle on lap 2. Meanwhile, Corbett and Moore went out but returned after losing their power steering soon after. A case of back to the drawing board, I'm afraid, lads. The Lesotho Sun 400 continues right after this.